Hello, our group today is presenting Chapter 6, Political Constraints of Real-World Evaluation. Today we're going to be looking at how does politics play a role in program evaluation. Our values drive our emotions, and these in turn drive our purpose. So programs are created from values. Politics come into play when people and groups compete for their program. They compete for funding and anything else to have their program reach, at a higher level or be better than another program. These politics come into play within evaluation also. As you can see, the word evaluate, the origin of the word is actually value. So unfortunately, these political constraints do come into play with evaluation. Within the 7 steps of real-world evaluation approach, there is a step 5 that is addressing political influences. Some of the approaches that can be used by the evaluator to address political influences include ensuring the appropriateness of collection methods, including a comprehensive data set, and ensuring that the that the analytical focus is appropriately addressing all data and issues that arise. Evaluators need to take into consideration that these approaches have the following, that these approaches be followed, even if there's pressure from funding agencies or other clients, that the data needs to include, but not limit, the interests of funding agencies or clients, and that the concerns and criteria of the many stakeholder groups will be considered without an emphasis on the concerns of the funding agencies or clients. This process may seem very linear as we see it right here, but really it might feel like this. All of these roads heading kind of to the same place, but not. It's all the aspects of evaluation are interrelated. And this makes this gives a crossroads to the evaluator. The evaluator will encounter times that their values will be challenged and their ethical standards will be tested. There are a number of points at which the political influences may affect an evaluation. At the beginning of the evaluation or commissioning an evaluation can show, evaluators are being selected because of sympathy towards a program or because of their known criticism towards a program. During the designing and evaluation portion of the evaluation, decisions can be made to use either quantitative or qualitative approaches, or time may be deliberately limited to discourage critical attention of certain issues. When one is conducting the evaluation, some relationships may turn sour, and this might obstruct any type of access to some data. And during the reporting phase, deadlines, if they're short, on purpose or not, may leave insufficient time for groups to comment and promote any kind of biases towards the reporting and findings. So for all programs, an evaluation will confirm or confront the purpose of the program. So an evaluation brings forth the underlying values of the program, the political supporters, as well as the opponents. The findings have ramifications for individuals as well as economic, political, and ethical implications. Throughout the course of the project, evaluators should exercise alertness regarding political and ethical issues. Look at different types of politics that can arise during evaluation. Societal politics looks at the stake that society has in an evaluation. So evaluators should be looking at the public good instead of certain groups, funding groups, or whoever else it might be. But the unfortunate thing that usually happens is that the interest of the immediate client, which might be the funding client, takes precedence over the actual stakeholders or the community as a whole. One example we can use is that when programs draw from public funds, all members of the society are stakeholders. And in some cases, public reporting is appropriate and even is required over any objections the clients may have. It's hard. The evaluator should avoid any assumption that political influence is bad or that it should be avoided. Rather, politics is natural, and it's really a sign that evaluation results because the findings actually matter to the public and the stakeholders.
And Uncle Sam, that you do have access to a program evaluation standards by clicking the link below. It'll give you a PDF of the book referenced in order to go in depth of what should be handled or the standards that we do use by conducting a program evaluation. This kind of brings us to our stakeholder politics. We might feel like the guy on the screen being pulled into different our program manager, the clients that we're doing the program evaluation for. We have our own personal values and ethics. At the contracted agency that we might be working with or an outside agency that we're working with, as well as supporters and I guess in opposition the anti-supporters of the program. So we do feel this sort of strain on ourselves as this lead member. But it's important to, again, by referencing these program evaluation standards, we get a broader range of our stakeholders. The reason why it might be harder to get all stakeholders and kind of, left a little lonely, like she is, but it's valid in the sense that it is hard to identify this group of people, hard to contact, and harder to even maybe understand them due to a cultural or language barrier. So we see that, I guess, an opposite to the person that we really can't find or harder to identify, which is the program manager up in front. So we see that the information that we give, or maybe the reason why we're there, is to please them, because they are the kind of go-to person. They have all the resources, access to information. They're the ones that are calling you to have or to conduct this program evaluation. But our desire to please the program manager to secure future contacts, this is referred to as a managerial bias and defined as clientism, which is a no, a huge no, a big no. But I mean, it's kind of hard to, again, it goes back to why we're there. We need to be mindful that we're also not the only person in the evaluation process. There's a professional politic aspect to it. We want to not go into a consulting service. We're there to evaluate and to provide that service. But when we go into this consulting sort of service, that is frowned upon within our realm. That there's some sort of discord within evaluators, because some are based more on factual evidence, and the others are more with a hidden agenda as far as what the information what they want to confirm or what they want to put out. Uncle Sam would like to remind you that there are these guiding principles for evaluators via the American Evaluation Association website, and you're able to view them by clicking the link below. In this section, it asks, is advocacy an improper intrusion of the evaluator's individual values? The answer is yes. We're there to perform an evaluation, again, not to consult and not but we see that with different types of individuals come different perspectives and values, and some people might see the top left corner, the man's face, and others might see the bottom right, which is the woman's body. So it just depends on where you're at.
That leads us to codes of conduct. AEA guiding principles and standards of evaluation are intended to help with political responses and moves that can be helpful when presenting to clients and stakeholders. It is also quite possible that political constraints can overwhelm the confident practice and adherence to these standards and principles, which may result in refusing or discontinuance of the work. They also may not clarify the appropriate course of action or just simply complicate decisions. It may be clear how to ensure the evaluation to be conducted, but they're intended to protect the respect and rights and human welfare of subjects, to support security, dignity, and self worth. Political influence is at the political issues in the onset of an evaluation. Influence, as defined here, is to affect the nature, development, or condition of. And programs reflect values. Through policy and politics, programs evaluations are often commissioned with political motives. These motives may be clear and they may not be clear. If the motives are clear, sometimes the way to handle it or the path to take moving forward may not be clear. There are also hidden agendas. Clients may choose an evaluator that may be more likely to Clients may choose an evaluator because they won't have a differing opinion. They may just go along with what it is that the client is looking for. Clients may be influenced by political intentions, and you, as an evaluator, may be none the wiser. So, it is very important that you are selective in this area, which will help you prevent this situation from happening. And you can check and see by asking opening questions to the client to see how open they are about the different types of methodology, the comprehensiveness, and the findings, both positive and negative, on a situation. Unfortunately, the obvious benefit may be difficult and cause heated political situations where you're not able to satisfy that client and they'll look for somebody else. And you have to make sure that you ensure your credibility as an evaluator and have uncompromising honesty to ensure that these kind of situations don't happen to you. There's stakeholders that have differences. In any public arena, there's always people that have differences, but you're dealing with people who are policymakers, managers, and personnel that implement policy. And there's always political turmoil. So you need to make sure that you're addressing those things and being conscious of them at all times. Political issues conducting evaluations. You as a evaluator have several different roles that you need to play, but you also need to be able to identify the areas of improvement that are needed and be able to have an open dialogue with your client to make sure that you're able to convey these things to them. Data access. With data access, you as an evaluator can be seen as a negotiator, an interpreter, um, conflict, or an unwitting pawn being used by your client and have no idea what their ideal situation or what they're trying to accomplish with using you. And you may never know until the end of the evaluation. However, you need to make sure that you're not doing things that are unethical when you say something or when you don't say something. So, with that, you just need to make sure that you take all things into consideration and make sure that people are safe and their security and dignity is protected.
Evaluation reporting needs. An agreement is often needed to implement results and recommendations, but evaluations sometimes reveal disagreements more clearly than stakeholders previously realized. In evaluation reporting, you deal with clientism and positive bias. Under evaluation use, neglect and suppression, distortion and misuse, and discrediting are other issues. There's an example given on page 126 of the book, manipulation of findings from alleged atrocities in Belgian Congo in the early 20th century. Just to give you a little historical background on King Leopold II, I'll attempt to give you an overview of the type of person this man was. King Leopold II of Belgium owned the Congo. During his reign in the late 1800s, he was responsible for the death of over 10 million Africans. Due to the increasing concerns about the alleged atrocities in the Belgian Congo in the late 19th century and early 20th century, King Leopold found himself forced to create an independent commission to assess his policies in the Congo. The commission produced a long and a very damning report on Belgian policies. However, before the report was issued, Leopold was able to arrange for a summary report exonerating the king's policies to be circulated, and for the full report to vanish quietly into the archives. The summary was largely accepted by the public, and Leopold continued to receive awards as protector of Africans from the Arab slave traders. Moving along to address during the evaluation design, it's important to understand the political environment, whether it be economic, institutional, environmental, and sociocultural, because it influences the way that political concerned groups will view a project and its evaluation. Moving on to conducting a stakeholder analysis. In identifying and seeking solutions to potential political constraints, stakeholders might be asked the following questions. These are just some of these. 128. One of them could be, which of one of these factors do they consider particularly critical? What are the key problems and challenges facing the project? Now, addressing political constraints during the implementation of the evaluation, ensuring access to information during the implementation of the evaluation is important. Sometimes access to information can be affected by cultural barriers. In many countries, officials assume that visitors wish to meet only with important people, and then they find it difficult to understand why they would want to go to poorer sections of the community to meet with poor or low status people. Moving on to providing suspicion and demonstrate the value of evaluation. Keeping stakeholders informed of the progress can sometimes reduce opposition to an evaluation, particularly if it can be shown that the evaluation is less negative than had been feared. Politicians and managers are often concerned that community reactions will be negative, showing that attitudes are mixed and that residents often have constructive suggestions to make can help gain at least cautious support for the evaluation. Addressing political constraints in the presentation and use of evaluation. As you can see in the last slide, these are some of the factors that affect utilization. One of the most effective ways to increase the likelihood that evaluation findings are used is to ensure that the findings are of direct practical utility to the different stakeholders. A summary of the chapter can be found on pages 129 and 130. This concludes our chapter presentations, and we hope you all have found this information useful.